Hey guys, my name is Muska and welcome to Overwatch Central. This is a video I've been meaning to make for quite a while actually, and it has to do with roles. And I know, another Overwatch Central video titled The Problem with whatever. We have a lot of these problems that we talk about here and there. We don't do these videos too often, but this is kind of a follow-up to an old video actually that talked about roles as well, but back when the role of defense characters still existed and the problem with that in itself. This time around though, I wanted not only talk about the current roles and the characters in those various roles, but also how that affects the entire game, can confuse quite a lot of players, and is just generally quite misleading. I want to begin with talking about the main ranks where most people are at, and those are really gold and platinum. These are the biggest ranks in Overwatch with the most players in them, and recently that I've played more on my platinum account to try and learn some more support characters and also just play with friends who are a bit lower SR that I can then learn support together with. I've experienced a lot of confusion around roles and a lot of just misinformation floating around about various characters. Let's take this for example. So Roadhog is in the tank slot, yeah? People look at some roles like Roadhog, for example, and just don't really understand what he does. Like, what is actually Roadhog's purpose? Why do you want to pick him? When do you want to pick him? And what should you do with that character? If you don't really fully understand that, and you simply look at the indication that you get from the game, which is high health character, and put in the tank role, you will most of the time assume, naturally if you're a new player, that Roadhog is a tank that can help with tanking jobs. Sure, he can peel a little bit by just kind of standing in the way and maybe feeding some ult charge whilst he's at it, but he's far from an off tank like Zarya or D.Va. He does a very different type of tanking, I guess you could say, that has more to do with sustain and keeping himself alive to be able to get more picks. A lot of people like to call him Fat Reaper, and whilst that a little bit mean maybe, there's just no indication in game as to how you should actually act around this. Let's take another one. We have a look at Ana in the support role. Okay, Ana can heal quite a lot. She's definitely considered to be kind of a main healer in a way, but there's no indication in game as to how much more Ana can heal than maybe Lucio or Zenyatta, and that doesn't really help when learning the game either, because maybe you'll pick Zenyatta and you feel like the healing orb is pretty strong and that the ultimate is so strong that you don't really see the problem when you are running maybe a Brigitte and a Zenyatta alone for your healing. And the only way the game can tell you anything otherwise is through the medal system. Let's say you're playing that Zen and Brig. If the Zenyatta manages to get a few good ultimates off and just in general keeps on top of the healing orb usage, then maybe he'll end up in first place on healing, and with that gold medal there as healing, that's the only indication that this player that's learning Zenyatta and maybe learning Overwatch has regarding their performance. So that healing medal of gold is also just pointless. And this is kind of what I'm trying to get at with this video, how not only the roles but also the medal system work together to actually make it harder to understand Overwatch properly rather than making it easier. Obviously a lot of people that play the game a lot know this, but there's still so much just widespread confusion about how much you should be healing with various characters. What is a normal amount of healing to get per 10 minutes for Ana in Platinum? A lot of people don't know. These numbers are available publicly as well, but when they're not in game, it makes the game so much harder to learn. This is also what has me a little bit worried about role queue, especially when you look at roles like tank and support. These roles have such blurry lines. You've got Hammond, Roadhog, and Reinhardt that all do completely different things, all in the tank role. Then you look at the healer role, and you have Zenyatta, Ana, and Brigitte that also all do very different things and work in very different combinations and team compositions. And whilst that's another puzzle that you sort of should solve yourself as you're learning the game, role queue for Overwatch won't really help with that part. Now, I'm all for role queue, I really do want it, but I feel like these things need to be expanded upon and improved upon. Not necessarily before you move towards a role queue, but something that should at least partially be part of the role queue solution. If you're watching this video and you find yourself maybe thinking that, oh, I'm kind of in that position of playing in those sort of middle ranks that a lot of people are in, and I don't feel like the game is giving me enough stats to learn more, then I highly recommend checking out overbuff.com, omnicmeta.com to learn more about these stats, where you should be in your various games, because the game doesn't tell you these things, so you have to kind of do this on your own, unfortunately. The average deaths can be very useful to look at, and all of these stats aren't necessarily 100% indicative of useful performance or not. It's very easy to just spam damage in Overwatch without getting a kill due to the heavy amount of healing that's around. So you're obviously gonna have to be the judge of your own performance by also just looking at your own footage and such, which you can now do easier with replays. Well, at least soon enough, it's on the PTR right now. But looking at the roles to figure out team compositions and looking at medals can be extremely misleading. Not only are they not that useful, but they can just make the game more difficult than it really is. I'll leave those few links in the description regarding stats, but all in all, when you put heroes in roles that don't accurately reflect and compare characters to their performance and throw in some shiny medals that distract people even more, there's very little clarity in what's actually going on in your game. This makes it harder to learn, this makes it more frustrating, and results in more burnout, which means that you have this decline of players leaving and coming back, leaving, coming back, all that sort of stuff. And that's why I wanted to make this video, to hopefully catch some of those players that might feel like they get a bit frustrated with the game, to try and find some more clarity there, but also bring up an important point now that I feel like we're at least getting closer to role queue. It's at least been a discussion for a long time now, and with bigger features and changes coming to the game, I felt like this was a pretty good time to make this video. Alright, anyway, that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, maybe because I'm ill, well, maybe you leave a dislike, or at least I hope you forgive me. Just really wanted to make this video today. So yeah, like it if you did, and feel free to drop any comments below. I'll try to reply to some stuff and be part of the discussion there as well. Alright, that's everything. See you guys next time. Bye bye.